Hello, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to the prestigious 9:30 in the morning slot here at the Edinburgh International Television Festival. Stuart and I had a little bet. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Stuart Murphy. We had a bet about how many people would turn up.
I bet 13.
And I bet 30, so I'm nearer. So I win. And the bet was for 20 quid.
In fact, it was for 15 quid, you cheeky fucker.
Okay. That's all right. I'll give you a fiver back. Hang on. There you go.
It's always good to give an interviewee money at the start of an interview.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I've just achieved what everyone here wants to achieve, which is to get some money out of Stuart Murphy. Welcome, Stuart. A lot to talk about. It's been a fascinating year for you. Do you reflect on it as broadly a good year for Sky?
Yeah, I think it's been a really good year. I was just saying earlier on, the more I get into the job, the more nervous I get talking publicly. So I get so nervous. So you have to forgive me, I just hate it. But
why do you hate it?
I think because I worry about vomiting in someone's face.
And that'd be quite a moment.
You know, I said this to Wahid. Yeah, it'd be quite a moment. You'd love it from a producer head. I once met Wahid Ali for lunch, and I said, I never meet people for lunch. He went, why not? And I said, I'm always worried I'm going to vomit in someone's face. And he went, oh, don't worry, it'll be fine. I'll just get another shirt. I just thought, you sick bastard. Like for the whole... Anyway, but...
And do you get more nervous as the job goes on because...
Yeah, I don't know if it's that I'm worried about losing the job, because I think, as my dad said when I got the job, at this level, I think you get fired instantly if it goes wrong. So I'm aware of that, and I think I've got kind of clauses in your contract. If you get fired, I'll be fine for about 3 months, statutory pay. I don't know. So I'm not that bothered about losing my job because I think it's going well. It's up 13% year on year. We've got over, I think, 60 shows over 1 million, roughly, this year, which is great, and the genres seem to be working. I think it's just that I feel more acutely at a level of responsibility that when something's a success, it's there to ruin, whereas when something's a mess, actually, there's real joy in forensically working out why it's a mess and then trying to get it to be good. Okay. I'm more used to pushing things uphill than being at the top of a hill and trying to create a new vision that you then need to climb, if you see what I mean.
You can send us, by the way, tweets and texts again. I'll read some out a little bit later, so you can see all the details there. In fact, we'll pepper them throughout the show, and then we'll ask you as well to ask some questions from the audience right at the end of the session for the last 10 minutes or so.
And I love this. At 9:30, I bet everyone's just drunk in here. So it's going to be like, I'm the only sober one at a Betty Ford clinic.
Yeah, you are, yeah, I'm drunk.
How many people are drunk in here, just out of interest? Can you say this to it? Oh, not that many. The two pissed to raise
How
their
many
hand.
people got to bed before midnight?
Oh, that's about, what, 10%?
Yeah, disappointing.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I spoke to Ricky Gervais here. I think you were in the audience, weren't you? So we also talked about An Idiot Abroad. Yeah. First of all, was it quite gratifying to see the audience reaction to that clip?
It's brilliant. To work with someone like Ricky is brilliant. You know, one of the reasons I really, really love my job, genuinely, and I know often it sounds daft when people say this on a public forum, but the people I work with constantly make me raise my game. And, the commissioners, I admire them genuinely loads. I like them. They're not my friends in the sense that I don't sort of need any more friends. But, I like them. They're all right. But they're brilliant at their job. And I also love working with indies and with talent like Ricky, who are obsessive and detailed and visionary. And I think An Idiot Abroad is just a work of comedic genius. And actually, the first series was just very, very, very funny. I think the second series, the guys have done something really special, Richard and Krish, and they've not only made it funny, but they've made it quite a bit more poignant. I think it looks...
Who are Richard and Krish?
The guys, producers on it. And it looks absolutely stunning. And there's moments of real reflection. This probably sounds a bit pretentious, but there's different types of laugh out loud. So there's lots of Carl moments where he'll say, you know, I'm not going to crack the joke actually because out of context it won't seem funny, but he'll say lots of one-liners, but there'll also be a lot of jokes that slowly develop over the show that come good, and it's brilliant. I admire it.
Ricky was saying on the stage yesterday, it's important, obviously he likes control, which he made very clear. Yeah. And he said it's important to have like a direct line, and he name-checked you, and he paid tribute to you yesterday, didn't he? Yeah. But he says it's important to have a direct line. Yeah. So he brings you up a lot, does he?
He doesn't ring me up a lot. He's got my mobile. I wouldn't.
What would he call you about in the course of making the programme?
To discuss a particular editorial point.
Okay.
I mean, I had dinner with him last night, and we were chatting about when I was at BBC Three. He phoned to comment on Jonathan Ross's series Japanorama. And he just phoned and said, "Oh, I really like that show." And Matt Lucas would do that and phone and say, "Oh, just so you know, I think this person's really funny." Ricky can't remember having phoned, but he did. I remember. And it was just really weird. Because it's like, oh my God, this is someone I admire so much, just phoning me to give feedback. Now he will phone with a clear reason. And I'm acutely aware he's really, really busy. I want all the phone calls and conversations I have with him to be significant, if you see what I mean. I don't want to get into a position where I'm a pain in the arse to be on the phone to him.
Would you ever stand up to him if he said, "I want to do this with this particular episode," and you didn't like it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So he doesn't always get his way?
Well, that's a different answer. But yeah, I definitely would. I think whereas he has an amazing comic mind and is smart enough to surround himself with people who are equally as clever, I think I've got a good mind on running channels, and I've been doing it since I was 26. So I don't think I'm perfect, but I certainly think my life experience and professional experience is different to his. And so I've absolutely got something to offer. And ultimately, I'm the boss. So if there's a mistake, it's me who gets fired, not him. So yeah, and I've got 3 mortgages.
Yeah,
but yeah, we'd
have
have
3 months statutory pay as well.
Yeah, we'd have a good debate, but you've got to respect someone who. You know, like a lot of the people who now make shows for Sky, you've got to respect someone who's award-winning and has shown time and again that their creative endeavour has changed the TV landscape. You'd be a fool to let your ego override, you know, a discussion. You've got to listen to people like him.
You I hope you don't mind me saying, but we were chatting before the session, and you were saying that when you had dinner with Ricky last night, he had a couple of new ideas that you're interested in doing.
Yeah, and so so we were just chatting about. I actually don't mind.
Was I not meant to say this on stage?
No, not at all. No. I said you can literally ask anything apart from one thing. Why am I even saying that? Because it's tempting. You sort of want to say it. Should we just talk about that one thing instead?
Yeah, please.
And he said he was on about a particular comedian. He said, "I really like that person. I've always wanted to do this particular idea," where he described a character who was unacceptable and un-PC. Surprise. And I was like, perfect, yeah, we'd go straight to series. And he went, "Well, let's discuss it." I was like, "I don't really need to discuss it." So, yeah, if he wants to do it, we're here. And then he talks about another idea that he'd wanted to do for a while. I said, yeah, literally, no, doesn't need to be discussion on that. You know, when I first joined Sky...
Does that mean they're quite likely to happen, or Ricky needs to go and think about it?
On my side, yeah, he's pushing against an open door. I mean, we'd need to discuss what shape the show would take and what the money would be, but and where it would be. But, yeah, I mean, my team, I owe it to my team and to the viewers that if I paid 20 quid a month for Sky, I hope that the person in charge has the balls to commission Ricky Gervais on a one-line pitch.
Wow.
But when I first started at Sky, I wanted to nick Gavin and Stacey. And, sorry, when I first started at Sky, did I say BBC?
Yeah, you just said yeah.
I wanted to nick Gavin and Stacey. And I'm sure the BBC guys in the audience know this already, and some journalists probably do. And so I phoned Baby Cow and said, so bring Gavin and Stacey to Sky. And I was determined to make Sky One the entertainment equivalent of Sky Sports or movies or arts or Sky News, you know, the best in breed. And so we had a brief discussion, and Henry said, "What will you offer?" And I went, 2 series and a film. And
Henry Normal, who runs Baby Cow.
Yeah, sorry, head of Baby Cow, who make Gavin and Stacey. And he said, okay, I said, I just need to clear it with my boss. I called Sophie Turner-Lang. She called Jeremy Darroch. Within 4 minutes, she came back and said, make the offer. And I went, do we not need to clear it with them? And she went, we are them, which is such a great Sky statement.
Great. Yeah.
And so I made the offer, and as it turned out, they wanted to stay at the BBC and finish it at the BBC, and I sort of respect them for that. And the second stage in my strategy was, all right, I can't get Gavin and Stacey, but I want to get the next thing. So signed up Ruth Jones to do 10 1 hours of Stella, which is on in the new year, which is great. Signed up James to do A League of Their Own, which is going to Series 4 and Series 5, which I absolutely love, and I think creatively it is the genre winner next to Question of Sport, I would say. Probably a bit too competitively for me. I mean, probably in a competitive way. I think it outshines that.
It's definitely better than A Question of Sport.
Yeah, it definitely is. Question of Sport was rubbish.
It's a low bar, yeah.
Although they started to do the thing at the end, haven't they? The physical thing at the end of Question of Sport.
Have they?
Where Sue Barker gets a wig and she just threw. No, that's a joke. It's not even funny. Slightly nasty. It's because I didn't get drunk last night. I'm bitter. And then, we signed up Joanna Page, who is doing The Gates, a new comedy with the good-looking lad Tom Ellis from Miranda.
You just picked off the whole of
So I
the
literally
cast of
picked off the
Gavin and
cast one by
Stacey
one.
one by one.
Yeah, and I was supposed to
What's
see Matt
next for Larry Lamb?
Yeah, nothing. But I do like Alison Steadman. I think it's brilliant. Nuts in May is one of my favourite comedies.
Yeah.
And Matt Horn I was supposed to see last night, but I couldn't because of Ricky. But yeah, and so sort of set out to pick them all off one by one.
That's quite an interesting insight into the commissioning process at Sky, both in terms of patrioting Nick, Gavin and Stacey, and what you said to Ricky Gervais last night, which is, we'll do it. I don't suppose you could commission like that. I'm assuming you can't commission like that at the BBC. Could you have done that at BBC Three? Said, right, let's do it, we're on.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably weird for someone from Sky to be on a public forum saying something complimentary about the BBC, but seeing as no one else is saying something complimentary about the BBC, including people at the BBC sometimes, I might as well say it. The BBC is a great creative institution, and I think Danny Cohen is fantastic. I think he's a proper force for good in telly. He's a smart guy who's kind and actually sillier than his public persona would give him credit for. He's a good bloke. Janice, Richard and Zai are really clever people who make me up my game professionally. So kind of hats off to them. I think often the structure in lots of big broadcasters can clog up discussions and actually the discussions one has, I used to have in the BBC, were often just as swift and just as creatively freeing as the discussions I have at Sky. The difference is, I think, for me at least, when I was at the BBC, I would have those discussions, and then a whole massive structure would slow the process down.
Right.
So you'd have 3 months of discussion about rights or budget or process or delivery, and it was like dragging the Queen Mary through a sea of Mars bars. It was a nightmare. But that initial discussion was great. At Sky, we have an initial discussion, and it's fleet of foot. So, the head of business and legal affairs sits 5 yards away from me. The scheduler is the scheduling team, is just around the corner. So things are very, very swift. So that's the only real difference.
But so in effect, then you have more power, because at the BBC, you couldn't really, as a BBC commissioner, say to someone right away, we're definitely going to do that. You would have to say, I like that idea, but we need to go and...
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't. You, as a channel controller at the BBC, this was at least my experience, it was just as much about getting other people to buy into it as it was you loving it. While at Sky there isn't a double tick system, there's still a kind of professional responsibility, I think, for channel controllers or decision makers to get buy-in from other people in the business anyway. So even though I could see an idea like, take a specific example, a different breed, show about pets made by Jonathan Stadlen, who just made Pineapple Dance Studios. Yeah. Pineapple Dance Studios, a real breakout hit, dominated the sort of entertainment agenda for a year. And so you're going to back someone like Jonathan Stadlen. I think, he's fantastic. That show was about funny dog owners and their dogs. And I thought, let's put a skin of a narrative over it and get the dogs to talk. What a fucking stupid idea of mine, right? Proper mistake. And
Did he oppose that idea initially? Did he say, I'm not sure?
No, me and Jonathan have that professional relationship where we try and out-silly one another, and he's so much funnier than I am. And so a bit like an eager 12-year-old trying to impress a mate, I suppose I was trying to say something even sillier, just to make my friend laugh and love me. And I said something that was just the cackiest idea. And anyway, something like that, I loved. And in the management meeting on a Monday that we have with all the different people in the business, I said, we're going to do this. And you know what? The dogs are going to talk. And it was proper kind of... And I felt responsibility, as I should, to get other people in the business to see why I found it funny.
Right.
So I have the power to go for it myself, but to engage and, inspire people, not inspire, but, excite people around the business, you need to sell it to other people, don't you?
So you're saying more likely in the BBC process, the dogs wouldn't have talked, as in it would have been opposed by other people and it wouldn't kind of happen?
I suppose the dogs would have talked, but the ruthless marketing campaign would have meant they wouldn't have sent a DVD out to journalists. Even if they asked. I guess, I don't know.
Did that not work? So did it not really work? Did it not really rate very well for you?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't. No, it didn't really rate. I think the broad point I took from that is to refocus on Sky One being a broad entertainment network aimed at a broad audience. And, the times when I've made mistakes is when I've when I've thought my competitors are niche channels like BBC Three, E4 and ITV2. And in fact, Sky One's audience expect things as broad as they get on BBC One and ITV1. Obviously, we don't have the drama spend that Ben has at BBC One or the brilliant opportunity to commission across an array of tones. But we need to keep things broad. And those moments that I love, like dogs talking, or, we did a pilot, which was a dating show where people go on dates with someone. And actually, they don't actually go on dates with someone, they go on dates with shop mannequins that are voiced. I thought that was so funny. When I saw the pilot, actually, it's clear that's not going to work for my more broad audience. So I've rambled a bit, haven't I?
That's right. This is a show where the mannequins talk instead of...
Yeah, shall I explain it? Because it sounds fucking stupid, actually. But what it is if you're single and you want to go on a date with girls, what you do is you sit in one room, you get... you have 3 girls who you like the look of, and they date one of 10 mannequins on your behalf that are voiced over by comedians. So we had, in the pilot, a lad turned up and there's a mannequin in, some cake shop, and he went, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" And the mannequin was like that, and she went, "Hello, how are you?" And he went, "Yeah, I'm good." And he went to pick her up and the legs fell off. And she went, "Oh, be careful of my legs." And it was just it really made me laugh. In the same way that Dale's wedding made me laugh, or surreal stuff makes me laugh.
But you didn't commission it?
No, I didn't commission it because it's never going to work on Sky One.
Okay.
Thank God.
Louis Spencer Showbiz, which is the Pineapple, that was last year's hit, and you did Louis Spencer Showbiz. Did that work? Did that rate all right?
Yeah, it did. It's
Because I don't think it was in that roundup, was it?
No, I mean, there's no important reason for it not being in the roundup. The people have said one of 2 extremes about Pineapple Dance Studios. Either it was the breakout hit and it was absolutely enormous and rated through the roof, which it didn't, or no one, the interesting thing about Pineapple is everyone talks about it, no one watched it. That's not true. The detailed and slightly kind of boring thing, I suppose, is every time Pineapple Dance Studios went out, it got about 250,000 viewers. We ran it about 8 times a week, and each time it got 250,000 viewers. So in total, each episode per week got about 1.5 million, and the same with show business. My problem was Sky Media, who sell our ad space, need people to watch the ads. And actually on Sky Plus, people have less propensity to watch the ads. So people need to watch it live and come to a transmission live as much as possible, and people weren't doing that as much with Pineapple and show business. But Louis is a great talent. I love Louis.
Will you do another series with him or not?
Yeah, if he comes up with an idea. Yeah, I mean, he's been in Oprah, doing stuff for Oxygen Network, for Oprah Winfrey's network.
There's no plans. You've not recommissioned show business.
No, I haven't. I mean, I haven't decommissioned it. After show business, he was going to the States. Okay. He phoned me yesterday, day before yesterday. He's in Spain. We're meeting up when he gets back. Yeah, I think he's an extraordinary talent. It's funny.
Let's talk about a budget for a moment, because you've got... you don't publicly say what the size of
That's
the
right,
programme
yeah.
budget is.
Yeah.
But I think it's known that by 2014, your budget will be £600 million. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And that will mean that in terms of the amount of money that you spend on comedy, you will outstrip all of the terrestrial broadcasters eventually?
Yes, we will. And so the figures we have talked about, Sky's a commercial company, and one thing they're very, very, very strict on is leaks and talking figures. It's FTSE 100 company, these things can affect the business. So I've got to be really careful. But now this year we spend 320 million on British content. That's not rights, it's not sports rights, it's the making of British shows. And Jeremy Darroch about 4 months ago did a speech that said, a key speech really, and a real turning point in Sky, I think, that we're going to move from 320 million a year to 600 million, up to 600 million in 2014. And I don't think it was up to 600 million, I think it was 600 million in 2014. At the moment, this year, we spend more than Channel 4 on comedy, and by next year, we'll spend more than the BBC on comedy. We know that because Lucy Lumsden was head of BBC Comedy Commissioning, and I love comedy, and so we're investing a lot in it. And in fact, it's not just because I love comedy. I think the business, when we got 10 million subscribers, subtly shifted, I suppose, its emphasis from mainly numbers to more people, and those people who've got us valuing us more. So that, the view is, if people value us more, they'll spend more with us, and our average revenue per user will go up. So, and I believe if we've got British commissioned content, and particularly certain genres, people will love us more. And there's a really fascinating bit of research we've got back that said, I hope I explain this well, if you make sci-fi, if you originate sci-fi fans will quite like you. If you originate British comedy fans will absolutely love you. So you can really turn the dial on certain genres much more among constituent groups than among other genres.
Okay, so the most important genres for you, then, looking forward, are more comedy. Are you going to commission an original sci-fi?
No, no.
What? You wouldn't?
No, because that just slightly alters the dial, whereas comedy and drama massively alters the dial in terms of people's values.
So comedy and drama will really be your absolute focus?
Definitely.
Let's have a look at some texts and tweets. So actually, these are anonymous as well, by the way.
Oh, that's really unfair, anonymous.
No. Stuart, you've poached a lot of talent. Yep. David Walliams, Davina, Ruth Jones, James Corden. Are you going to keep poaching? Is it worth paying for those names when the ratings don't deliver? And I think that might be a reference to Wall of Fame, which is... Let's talk about that.
Can I address that point?
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Poaching is quite a strong word. I wasn't aware that David Walliams, Davina, James Corden were on exclusives at other broadcasters. And I suppose it's the arrogance of some of the older, heavier broadcasters that they assume simply because they've had talent on their airwaves, they're exclusive.
Do you think those broadcasters see you as trying to nick stars? Is that how they see it?
Well, it's not nicking, is it? Davina's been on ITV, Channel 4 and BBC, so that's not a poach. I'm commissioning her as I would anyone else. James Corden, I had a personal relationship, professional relationship with James Corden at the BBC. And
that's what he didn't want me to talk about.
Yeah, that's why he wouldn't bring Gavin instead. No, I had a relationship with James Corden. It's not like, therefore, he's BBC talent. That's bullshit. He's someone who works with creative people who respect his work. And without sounding like a knob, that's me. And David Walliams, I commissioned Little Britain. So I don't see it's a particular broadcaster's, I don't see it's their talent that we're poaching. That's slightly immature view, I think.
How important is it to you to have these big kind of marquee names?
Really important. Yeah, really important.
Is it more about them being in the programme? Is it also so that you can put them on the posters and just associate James with Sky One? Is that as important as the actual product that he's making?
Oh, that's interesting. It's two things. Let me take a run at this. At Sky, we have a very clear view. If you are paying for something, it needs to be better than what you get if you're not paying for something. So if you can get these people on free TV, you're not going to pay for something additional if they're going to do something crapper on Sky. So, it's a really basic thing. If you're going to pay for it, you're not going to pay for something that's not as good as free. And so one of the phrases we talk about is Sky needs to make free TV feel inadequate. That if you've just got free, you're missing out somehow. So I think if we were just to sign up unknown talent on Sky One, that's a really difficult thing to sell to people. To say to someone, please give us 30 quid or 20 quid a month. There's this unknown person, trust me on this, they're really good. That's quite hard to do. I think what I'd rather do is say, this person has a great reputation of making brilliant shows, and actually sort of in brackets, and they represent what we're about. They're not, they're kind of seen as good people. They're not somehow weird people or tainted or nasty or odd. Okay. We're a good family brand.
Just pick up on a point there. So something like BBC Three should focus more on the new comedy talent, and you're not really about bringing on brand new talent.
That's
you're
right,
always
yeah.
going to use more established talent.
I mean, fortunately, it's brilliant Zai's problem, and it's for him to work out what BBC Three is. But yeah, we're not about new talent. We're about established people. And first and foremost, it's about having, as Ricky Gervais was saying yesterday, it's about having a great show. Key to people making a show for Sky is that they're going to publicise it. And, unlike terrestrials, we don't have, I can't promote Sky One using the free airwaves of BBC One and BBC Two. Equally, I don't have Coronation Street I can run on my channel for free. Or EastEnders, where I don't pay the market rate for EastEnders, I can run on the channel for free. So we need to find another way of pulling people into the channel. I think we're the second highest spender on marketing in the country. So it's really key that we have people on our posters. Actually, posters are not that significant, although it does make a big difference to how people feel about how much you support them. It's more about having clips on terrestrial, so it's effectively our trail, or imaginative, creative ways of promoting the show. It's not just about posters.
Okay, so for that...
It's the philosophy that if you come to Sky, you sell your show. So you turn up to the call centres and you sell your show. And you do the trails and you do the press. And, I think Sally Lindsay on Mount Pleasant did 47 press things, which is unbelievable. Yeah. And it's like the States, if we're going to pay someone, we expect them to sell it. And I know I know from previous experience, some broadcasters find that relationship with talent quite hard because there's lots of calls on that talent's time. I hope that what we're doing is quite helpful. We put in people's contracts that they have to do press.
So it's also a perception thing from the public's point of view, isn't it? That if they see that David Wallis and James Corden are willing to make shows on Sky, in their mind, okay, so therefore it's kind of an equal player to everyone else.
Yeah.
That kind of sends a message, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But on the specific...
on Wall of Fame.
Wall of Fame.
Yeah.
As I understand it, I don't personally check ratings, but as I understand it, that hasn't rated. Is that accurate?
No, it didn't rate as highly as I wanted it to rate.
What was it getting per episode?
It's getting about 250. I think it started at 300, it went down. And we showed it several times a week, and I think each repeat got about 100,000. So in total, and I'm guessing, Richard, but it got about 500,000, I think.
Okay. What did you hope it would get?
I suppose I was hoping it would do a League of Their Own type figures, which gets about, I think on an overnight gets about 600,000, and then when you take into account Sky Plus, which we always do, it gets about 900,000, I think. So I think a few things I'd say. One is it's pointless banging on about taking creative risk if, when there's a failure, you run away from it, as a general point. I think... that sounds like I've just said Wall of Fame's a failure, and I'm aware that journalists might think, he's just said Wall of Fame's a failure. But the general point is...
Is it a failure?
No, it's not a failure. Second point is there's a load of panel shows on TV, and for a first series of... so Have I Got News For You, I think, is in its 20th year, I think. 8 out of 10 Cats, which feels fresh, actually, I think is in about its 5th, 6th series, I don't know.
At least, I think.
Yeah, and they're really, really... Say again? 12, right, okay. 12. So, they're really good shows and they're established. I think what I wanted to do was see if we could get another panel show on Sky One. So it's its first series. I think we really, really pushed it. I think David's great talent, and he's someone I want on Sky. I think he's great. We had Jack D, and Andrew Maxwell, for me, was the breakthrough guy on it.
Who's been nominated this year for the award, but the comedy award.
Okay, Garraway's good. So I might
why didn't it work? Why didn't it work? Why didn't it rate?
I think I'm meeting David in a few weeks to talk about this. I think there are two types of David you can get. There are David, who's very Gucci, Prada, art gallery visiting, sophisticate, and does interesting drama and is thoughtful and reflective. And then there's a David who dresses up in a dress and mucks about and is ludicrous.
Yeah.
And I think my guide to the guys when they were making the show was, we want Prada David. And actually, I don't know if we should have had Prada David. And pretty early on, as in 2 episodes in, we said, why are we getting one of the most animated performers, like a kind of Lee Evans character, sitting behind a desk? Why are we doing that? When you see him on Little Britain, he is a brilliant, ebullient performer. And he's sitting down. It's like handicapping someone's talent. So get him up from behind the desk. And then, but when you've got a show rolling really fast and it's trying to be topical, this sounds silly, but it's oddly hard getting a format where someone can walk around without it feeling weird. So there are a few times in the series where I think we had like a crocodile on, and he had to get up and he prodded a crocodile. Right. And it's like, oh God, it just looks like he's just standing up for the sake of standing up. Or, they did speed dating in a kind of central area, which felt a bit more organic. But I kicked myself that he was sitting down.
So when you meet him, you're going to say, if we do a second series, you need to wear a dress.
I know you said that's a joke.
No,
but strangely, my view is the role of someone in my position is not to go through the minutiae of a show, because that undermines brilliant people like Duncan Gray. What is the point of me fighting hard to get Duncan at Sky if I'm just going to go through the whole detail of a show? Or what is the point of Duncan pushing really hard to get Jim Pullen on a show if I just go through and micromanage a particular show? The role for me should be a huge vision thing that says, I've looked at the market and this is where I think we should be headed. And then also on shows, I think it should be 1 or 2 key pointers. And as a result, you can often give views to exec producers or indies that can sound really thick. Mm-hmm. So, my comment on Wall of Fame would probably be, I need a lot more movement, and it needs to visually look different to allow a different editorial grammar to come out. It felt very processional. And
so will it come back?
I haven't decided. I genuinely haven't decided. So
does David want to do another series?
I met him and I've spoken to him about it. Okay. So as soon as he finished, he went on holiday. His Twitter, they keep sending photos of him on holiday, don't they? I don't know why they do that. But I think it's the person who represents him keeps sending, here's a photo of Lara and David jumping into the sea, if anyone follows David. So he's been on holiday since the series finished. I don't know. He's an important part of what I want on Sky One.
So if you didn't do that, you would look for something else for him?
Definitely. I really like him. I think he's a massive talent, actually.
Do you think to pick up on 1 or 2 people in there seem to say that maybe some of them don't quite know what Sky One is or don't see it as distinctive enough? Do you think that's true?
Yeah. I think it's still a relatively new channel. It's only 20 years, and I think there's that period of flux where did it have 6 controllers in 6 years or something? Right. I think, and so there've been key shows that have given a clue as to the direction it ought to take. So I think Ross Kemp in Afghanistan, which he did 10 years ago, and we're doing Ross 10 years on this autumn, where he goes back. Was a brilliant statement, and it felt really fresh, and it felt very Sky One in that it was a bit like BBC One, but a bit younger, or and this sounds terrible, but ITV One, but a bit more stylish, I would say. And so we're slightly mainstream and just slightly off kilter. So Modern Family could sit on BBC One or ITV One, but it's slightly off kilter. Or Got to Dance could sit on BBC One or ITV One, but it's a little bit cooler. Or A League of Their Own could sit on BBC One or ITV One, but has a slight difference. Yeah. Or Mad Dogs could go on BBC One, ITV One, but has something else, just slightly off. I think when we've made mistakes, we've been right out there. And we've either gone for Channel 4 sardonic stuff.
What mistakes have you made?
Say again?
What mistakes have you made then? What have you commissioned?
So the surreal stuff, definitely. I think introducing anything that makes people try too hard or is trying to be too clever has gone wrong.
Such as what?
Such as a different breed. I really like the show. It's just wrong for Sky One. Or I think pet programmes. I was trying to work out where in a recession, how might people respond to a recession? I know some commissioners who I really respect disagree with me on this, that they don't think you should try and second guess what the public wants in a few years' time. I definitely go on that. I think you need to look at where society you think it's going to go and then try and commission to that personally. And I think in a recession, I thought people would go back to basics, appreciate simple things, and I thought pets are the way forward. That was my big announcement. And what a mess. And, the first one didn't work, and I said to my boss, look, it just hasn't worked. I took a risk, a thoughtful risk, done with kind of the right integrity. And she went, oh, don't worry, it's just one show. I was like, no, we've got another 7 series coming down the line. And, fortunately, when I was at the BBC and we did parenting programmes, that worked, and that slew of parenting programmes hit the mark. Pet programmes didn't, and we still had a lot to come down the line. I think another punt I took, which I hope will work, was I think warm, redemptive comedy, like Mount Pleasant, should hit the mark.
And Trolleyed.
And Trolleyed, yeah. I mean, Trolleyed, Margaret in Trolleyed, who's the older lady on the till, is sweet and silly. And I hope, and I've commissioned, we've announced 5 comedies, all of which have a very, very, very similar tone.
How do you describe that tone?
It's warm, loving, redemptive, slightly dysfunctional family who talk in a very modern way. So Mount Pleasant, when Sally Lindsay's character is talking about how her husband scored her friend out of 10, she didn't say, you gave her a 9. She goes, a fucking 9. And I think people use the word fuck as, they sprinkle it through sentences, not necessarily to cause offence, but as a kind of,
it's how people talk.
Yeah, it's how people talk. And it was, and so in Mount Pleasant, it's part of the fabric of the script to have swearing in there. And that feels fresh. So it's kind of mainstream, but slightly off, because that probably wouldn't feel comfortable on brands like BBC One and ITV1. And we've got another 6 comedies that are 5 or 6 comedies that are very, very similar in tone. So hopefully that's somewhere where I've anticipated what people want in this difficult economic time, and it looks like we're getting it right. What
else will you be looking to commission over the next year?
So in comedy, there are. So the plan for comedy is there's a second stage to the plan in comedy. First stage was to land that we do warm, slightly dysfunctional family, our modern family. And that looks like it's working. Spy, there's a screening of which today, I think 4 o'clock at the film cinema. Darren Boyd, Robert Lindsay, it's great. It's warm, slightly dysfunctional family, albeit through a funny setup, through a funny concept where he plays a spy. It's really good. I think the second stage of comedy can explore other comedic tones. And I love dark comedy, like Nighty Night. I commissioned Nighty Night Monkey Dust. High Spirits with Shirley Goseman is one of my favourite comedies. Human Remains is one of the comedies I just absolutely love. And we could explore that type of comedy potentially, either on Sky One or Sky Atlantic.
Yeah, but that wouldn't quite fit with the description of the comedy set you were looking for on Sky One. Because when you say warm, redemptive, that sounds like you're going for a mainstream audience, going for an ITV audience, whereas Nighty Night doesn't fit that.
Well, I think the first phase of our comedy is to do a lot of warm, dysfunctional comedies. I think then the second tone that will run in parallel to that type of warm family comedy could introduce a darker tone. Right. So there could be a darker tone next to the warm family tone. I think there's a third tone that I'd love to explore is airplane humour, as in silly stuff. And we made a big announcement yesterday, which was we signed up Charlie Brooker to do A Touch of Cloth. I love Charlie Brooker. That comedy is very, very, very different in tone to the family comedy. So the family comedy is laughs that come out of what would happen when. So you take believable characters who behave rationally and humorous social situations happen as a result of their interaction. Yeah. In A Touch of Cloth, it very nearly has jokes like, surely you can't be serious, don't call me Shirley. John Hannah plays Detective Inspector Cloth, and Saran Jones plays his sidekick, and he tries to crack a crime, and it is really silly. so it's like my favourite comedies, you know, A Man with Two Brains, Top Secret, The Three Amigos, Airplane, Hot Shots. You know, that silly Pink Panther in some ways, that silly daft comedy. And I was talking with...
But it's still mainstream audiences that you're pursuing, then, isn't it? You really want to take audiences from BBC One and ITV. That's kind of your strategy.
Yeah, or, you know, hopefully there's enough viewers to go around that, you know, I love Benidorm on ITV1. I think it's just brilliant.
Could that play on Sky One? Would that
definitely. I'd love something like Benidorm. I wouldn't want to take Benidorm, but I'd love something like Benidorm on Sky One.
Which shows out there on the other channels do you wish were on Sky One and would fit really well?
I wish I had the talent that Ben and presumably it was Jay had when they commissioned Sherlock. I think he is absolutely brilliant. And for me, those execs can afford to make a million mistakes because they've had a hit like Sherlock. And that's what the BBC should be doing. It's exceptional. I think Doctor Who is creatively reinvented itself often, and that's hard on a long-running show. So I think that's brilliant. I think what else is really, really good? The In-Betweeners, I think, is genius. I think he's absolute genius. And about a month ago, within the past month, they had a stacked In-Betweeners night. I tried to nick the In-Betweeners for Sky.
Did you?
Yeah, and I didn't manage to get it. But I really want to work with the guys. And I'm going to make sure it happens. But I think that's brilliant. And hats off to Angela for, in fact, she did Misfits as well, which is brilliant. Yeah.
You mentioned Sky Atlantic. Just explain your commissioning kind of responsibilities. So Sky One, I guess, is your...
Yeah, so Sky One... Sorry.
But have you most original commissioning is on Sky One. What else? What else can you commission?
On Sky One, by the way, I think 55% of the output is British now. 45% is American. That's more than there's ever been. So there's now more British stuff on Sky One than American stuff on Sky One, both in volume and spend. Also, my role, and then under me, Elaine Pike runs Sky Atlantic. We launched it very quickly. Thank God there's someone with her brain and her drama background and her strong will to get Sky Atlantic to really sing. So there'll be more British stuff on Sky Atlantic. And already she's signed up, Paul Abbott, Sean Conway to do Hit and Miss with Chloe Sevigny. And we saw 2 minutes of it the other day. Hugh Kinnaird-Jones showed me it, and it's so beautiful. I cannot wait to visit it.
Someone here on the tweet says, has Stuart figured out what original content should mean on Sky Atlantic?
Well, it's Elaine's job. And, she's better at that than I am. But for me, what the headline thing of the channel is it's cinematic, so it's got to be huge, put bluntly. So if we do British content, it can't be mediocre. It's, we need to take the level of Mad Dogs, which was one of our, 8 BAFTA-nominated shows, and we need to go much, much higher. So when we had a conversation with Red Productions about Hit and Miss, it's a relatively new writer. I think he's 23, 24. They pitched it, they came up with a budget, and we went back and said we want it to have a much bigger editorial aspiration. We gave them more money. We offered them more money and gave it to them. So it needs to be huge of scale. It needs to be like the best HBO shows. And when Mike Lombardo at HBO talks about their view, it's about passionate engagement. It needs to not get everyone, but those who watch it need to love it. That's what Sky Atlantic needs to do with its originations. I think also the best Sky Atlantic shows need to be like the best HBO shows, that on the surface they say one thing, but fundamentally they're talking about something bigger. So Boardwalk Empire, it's just a great story. Underneath, it's about the moment America changed. Yeah. Or
True Blood.
6 Feet, exactly. They all do it. 6 Feet Under, pretend it's about Funeral Parlour. Really, it's about what have you done with your life. And Hit and Miss, on the surface, is just a really good story about an assassin, but fundamentally, I think it's about childhood and it's about family. And it needs to pull out those themes in a way that Sky One doesn't. Mad Dogs, it's fantastic, but it's a great romp. Strike Back. I love Strike Back, and it's absolutely bang on for the brand, but it doesn't try and say anything bigger. It's not State of Play, and some snobs on MediaGuardian when they've posted comments, they've criticised for that. I think that was a fucking...
Snobs don't mean, you don't mean the writers who work for the
No, I don't mean the writers. Yeah, I mean the people who respond to things.
You're not attacking John Plunkett.
No, I really like the guys. No, I mean the people who post comments.
Yeah.
You think, stop being so fucking thick. They say it's, it's not state of play. Are you stupid? It's not supposed to be state of play. The channel is a brand that is about immediate gratification, is about fun, is about speed and pace and energy and broad family. It's not state of play, you moron. And I just no time for it. I'm sorry. It just drives me mad.
That sounded like a blog post to yourself.
Yeah, and I also
do you go back on there and answer them occasionally?
I don't. I'm tempted to. I've started to go on Twitter for the past month.
How's that working out?
It's good. It's fascinating. I thought it was it's just an experiment, but I thought it's...
Aren't you the only channel controller that's on Twitter?
I think the other guys are, because they're more modern than I am, but I do it to the extent of I've just got out the shower, or... I've
You'll
just
learn to stop doing that.
I've just met David Hay. And I think there's a funny thing about channel controllers, because you have, my budget overall, I think, a commissioning budget is, 320 million, and along with the other channel controllers. And you can end up getting deified because people know your name more than you know their name.
Yeah.
And certainly when I was an indie, you end up obsessing to the nth degree where you think, oh yeah, have they got kids? Are they in a relationship? What are they going on with what's happening with their life? Oh yeah, they don't like the colour blue. And actually, I think I've got a bit of a professional responsibility to help people share my headspace and work out what I want. So I'm just trying it to see if it helps.
Have people pitched ideas to you over Twitter?
They have, and I've just said go to the commissioning site, because that's not why I'm doing it.
Okay.
And particularly, if they choose to do a public commission in front of every single follower, as one or two have, I just think more, not more the fool, you just kind of go through the commissioning process, because it's embarrassing for you.
Of course, yeah. Let's just coming back to Sky and what else you're looking for, because we've talked a lot about comedy.
Yeah.
Just in terms of factual programmes and in terms of studio entertainment shows, what new stuff, what slots are there, what kind of programmes do you want to commission?
In entertainment, I think Duncan Gray is a genius. I think he's great. He's successfully reinvented himself very publicly, and he's a very sweet man. And I think he's a creative genius. And what he did with Got to Dance and League of Their Own, I think, was brilliant. We now need something that takes either the interactivity of £1 Million Drop, which is one of the best shows ever.
So a live studio entertainment show?
We could definitely do a live studio entertainment show that is fully interactive.
Big on social media?
Definitely.
On Twitter?
I would love that. The guys behind £1 Million Drop and the commissioners are just very clever. So I would love that. I think The Cube is brilliant, because it... unlike the tradition of lots of entertainment shows that celebrate intelligence and test intelligence, it tests dexterity. And I love The Cube. So something that is the equivalent of Simon, that game, or Pull It, Twist It, Hit It, or whatever. Something that tests physicality like The Cube does would be brilliant. I think in Factent, I look with admiration at The Apprentice and MasterChef, and see, with real people competing for something. And Britain and Ireland's Next Top Model, I think Thumbs Up have done a really good job of stepping it up to the next level with Elle Macpherson. I would love on Sky One real people, competing for something. Probably not in business, although if it is in business, I'd like there to be genuine jeopardy. So, I think I said at a previous place, and it's a bit of a silly line, that in The Apprentice, the only thing the contestants have to lose is their dignity, and that's in short supply anyway. And, Alan Sugar, he's got so many employees, 250 grand and one more employee, probably it's not that much of a risk for Alan Sugar.
So what would be real jeopardy?
Yeah, real jeopardy.
What would that be?
I don't know, that's for people to work out, isn't it? That's why I'm putting out a clarion call.
Okay.
I don't know. People to have proper reputations at stake. So proper professional reputations that this could ruin or enhance, or proper financial commitment.
Okay, great.
So I would love that. Or, I love the fact that MasterChef has taken a seemingly innocuous hobby of cooking and made brilliant people break down on screen because they've got a fucking souffle wrong.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Amazing. And wow, just amazing. The minds behind that show are brilliant.
Yeah.
And I want to work with people like that. So what are the other genres that people adore? and our real hobbies, whether it's gardening or don't know what the hobbies are.
Not pets.
Not pets. That people can put in a tense hothouse environment. So I'd love that in Fact 10. I think in drama, we were talking about tones and how we can differentiate Sky 1 from BBC 1 and ITV 1. And when I was growing up, Tiswas and Magpie were tonally so different to Blue Peter. And I was brought up as a kind of Blue Peter boy. But I knew the cool kids watched Magpie and Tiswas. Were you a Magpie and Tiswas lad? Oh, your dad's a solicitor, isn't he? So maybe you were a Blue Peter.
I was Blue Peter, yeah.
Oh, you were Blue Peter? Sorry, what a stupid thing to say. Oh, God, that's so stupid.
I believe I am.
That's so funny.
I believe I was briefly associated with Blue Peter.
Now you're definitely Magpie.
Yeah.
You're the Magpie rap party. God, that's interesting, isn't it? It shows that, rap in the end of series.
Yeah.
That shows how far you've come, actually, that I totally fucking... Oh, it shows how stupid I am.
No.
Anyway, that's really embarrassing.
Ricky Gervais might have referenced it yesterday as well.
Yeah. That's a real Judge John Deed moment, isn't it? What a fool.
But what do you say? The sort of show, what do you want?
Sorry, get back to the point, Stuart. So in that same way, Doctor Who is fantastic. My kids who are 9 and 10 love it and are terrified by it at its best, and they love it. I think we need something different that runs a kind of naughty family slot, like 8 o'clock, that is edgy family, that sets us apart tonally from Doctor Who. And Sinbad is one of our attempts at that. 13 1 hours made by Impossible Pictures, a reimagining of Sinbad. We've got a young, sexy Sinbad guy who's straight out of college. He has his top off more than is editorially necessary, and and it's a good, sexy show that families can watch. And I hope that will set us apart from Doctor Who, where everyone's usually fully dressed, and any sex in it or kind of relationships in it are tender and cautious and are ones that could be approved by a school governess. Ours a bit our tone, and there's nothing wrong with that. God, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because 13 million people proved that is a winning formula. I think there's possibly other winning formulas out there, and Sinbad's part of that. So pre-Watershed, long-running naughty family could be good. I think one-offs could be continue to do well for us. So Treasure Island, which starts, which we're going to probably run around Christmas or maybe New Year. In the lead role, we've got Eddie Izzard. We've also got Elijah Wood, which is great booking. Donald Sutherland, Keith Allen, Rupert Penry-Jones, Phil Glenister, a whole load of people. And so those one-offs, reimagining of established, known stories could be good. But Mad Dog shows that we don't need to go on book-based stories to make our drama work. So
I've been so grateful about this conversation. I've not kept an eye on the time.
Oh, sorry.
They did tell me to wear an earpiece, and I said no, and now we're miles over. But what we'll do is we'll maybe take some questions here. We've got some tape of your upcoming programmes as well,
cool.
which we could play at the end, and if people have got to go, I guess they could go. But I think some of you are probably very keen to ask Stuart some questions, so we'll just start with that. Does anyone have something they would like to ask Stuart? I know it's a brave thing to be the first person to put your hand up. And everyone's hung over. Yes, thank you. Hello there.
You got Fishtown on Sky Atlantic.
Yeah.
How's that doing, and what are the plans for more docs?
So,
explain what that is, Stuart.
Fishtown is part of a set of shows that will run at pre-Watershed, 8 o'clock on Sky Atlantic, because lots of the content on Sky Atlantic obviously is post-Watershed. It's a fly on the wall in Brixham Fish Market, Fishtown, and it's to try and be unnecessarily lyrical in a documentary form. So it's got a beautiful script. On American Beauty, I think, there's that shot of the plastic bag flying through the air for about 30 seconds, and it's a beautiful bit of TV, a beautiful bit of film. Fishtown tries to do similar types of things and looks beautiful, and it's kind of fly on the wall in the town. How's it doing? It's doing about, I think, 60,000 to 60 to 100,000 in ratings, which is all right for a channel that's been on air 12 weeks, 16 weeks or something. Don't know how long it's been launched. And it's a different form. Actually, the important thing is people who watch it adore it. And so that's the box it needs to tick on Sky Atlantic. So we're totally open for business on Sky Atlantic for stuff like that. I think what Helen Warner has done with Deal or No Deal and her stuff at Channel 4 is brilliant. And I've got to keep saying it's brilliant. But anyway, she's very smart. And so highly repeatable, standalone, resetting formats would be great on Sky Atlantic at 8 o'clock. And I know Elaine is looking at a number of things that are quizzes or formats that deal with unapologetically smart and stylish things. Whereas BBC 4 might go for curios and things that feel self-consciously British and eccentric, I think we would probably push the stylish button a bit more than BBC 4 might feel they need to.
We could do a quiz on Sky Atlantic.
That is, you said that with interest, as if you might be interested in doing a quiz on Sky Atlantic.
Of course, I'm here to pitch for work.
Yeah. We'll do quizzes on Sky Atlantic. Yeah.
Right. Fronted by Richard Bacon. Let's get to another question. Are you looking for more panel shows, for example? Will you do another panel show?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it's a tough market, but yeah, potentially. I think because the two monoliths, or three monoliths, Strictly Come Dancing, Britain's Got Talent, and X Factor, are all studio-based entertainment shows, and Got to Dance and Comic Relief Dance thing is studio-based. It would be good to see what external entertainment shows there are. And the only suggestion I could come up with, which is shit, is could we do something that is dry stone wall racing or tractor racing? That is such a rubbish idea, and that shows why I'm not in an indie. But non-studio-based entertainment could work.
Okay, great. Any more questions? Yes, why don't you shout?
Yeah, there are. It was asking, would we take new talent and what would the criteria be for it? On our spin-off shows, so Got to Dance, behind the scenes, we would. And accidentally, we've signed up new talent. Yeah, in the sense that we did it because it was a great idea. It happened to be from new talent. We didn't go out with the kind of social ethos that we ought to support new talent, which is, I think, fundamentally different to where the BBC ought to be at, or is at, BBC Three. So Mount Pleasant, written by Sarah Hooper, who was one of the writers on Shameless, and we gave her first series. Or This is Jinsey on Sky Atlantic, is a surreal comedy from new talent. The pilot was at the BBC. They didn't want to go for it. We've gone for it, and it's new talent. So we will do new talent, but the idea comes first.
Okay. Right, thank you. Stuart, thank you very much.